Welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, and it's time for the instant match reaction as we make it 10 losses in 11. What a drab game. It's finished at the London Stadium, West Ham 2, Leicester City 0. Is anyone even still awake after that? Let's get thoughts from the panel. I'm joined by my brother from down under, Luke, our favourite Dane, LCFC Duck, and the main man, Mr. Manny. So let's start with you, Luke. What did you make of 2-0? Can you believe you actually got up at 3 a.m. to watch that crock of beep?
Yeah, from now on in, when I set my alarm at 4:45 in the morning, if I see Bobby Dakova Reed or I-11, I should just go back to bed. It's just, I don't know why I subject myself to this. I've done it last relegation season. I'll do it again. I love this club to bits, but unfortunately, the bottom line is of this video is it doesn't look like any player on that pitch cares about the club like half as much as we all do.
Duck, let me come to you. Not a great day in the office for Leicester. What did you make of that game?
Man, we're just boring. We are boring and we're bad. I mean, yeah, we just lack quality all over the squad. There are very few small bright spots today, and I mean, we'll get onto them later, right?
Absolutely. Guys, just before I come to Manny, if you really want to, you can add your match ratings in the link below, but we're going to go through them pretty quick today because it was just such a drab performance. And I thank for anyone that's actually here listening to us because, God, it's just so depressing to see a game like that. But let me go to you, Manny. You had a lot to say during that match, quite rightly, let me add. So what did you make of an awful performance?
Horrendous, awful. Any negative word you can think of would describe it pretty well. Don't think anybody had a good game, to be honest. David looked okay when he came on. Game was dead at half time. We asked to fail and we failed. We set up to fail. We had no clue how we were going to get out from this low block that we were attempting to play. Can't even defend with a low block anyway. I can't see any which way we were trying to score a goal, let alone actually construct an attack. We just conceded possession, didn't really press them too hard. In most ways, it can be bad. It was bad. I just can't find anything to cling on to, any sign of hope whatsoever. I know it was different to Brentford because we conceded less goals, but this game and particularly the Fulham game, we just couldn't get into the game in any which way at all. Like zero moments to look forward to. And you're just sitting there going, I mean, just inevitable. How long? Just ticking time bomb. We're waiting until we make one mistake and they'll score. And as soon as we go 1-0, 2-0 down, the same old thing again. Now, one thing I will say about Steve Cooper, who I was one of his biggest critics, when we go 2-0 down, we actually started to play. We tried to play. We often then scored the third goal. We gave it a go. We're not even trying. When we're 2-0 down, we're just like, let's try and make sure this isn't 3 and 4 and 5, and we'll just kill the game as it is. There's no hope of there's an hour to go. If we get the next goal, we're still back in this game. The players I think they've just given up before they even started, and so is the manager with his team selections.
Absolutely. I got some comments I want to bring up. I think this or nothing is definitely true from Ben. It's pretty evident Rude has given up. His body language all game looked like he has zero interest, which rubs off on the pitch. And, related to that, JC, less goals because West Ham didn't try second half, really. They didn't have to. I don't think they even had to try that hard in the first half. It's so easy to get those goals. But, yeah, what do you make of Rude? Because I think it's a really pathetic performance from the manager to not be able to fire up the team. No subs again at half time, by the way. What's he doing putting Luke Thomas and Patson Daka on with 3 minutes to go? It's like, do we not understand that there are points here? You can go for it. I mean, if we get beat, we get beat. He doesn't even go for it. We used to call him Coward Cooper, but Steve Cooper compared to Ruud van Nistelrooy looks like he's got, balls the size of watermelons, which is insane. Message from West Ham fans says, Locks, Lawless, West Ham fan Lawless, Vardy and the keeper, the only ones to clap the fans. The rest went straight down the tunnel. What do you want to make of that, Manny?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone wants out the door. I don't think anybody particularly wants to be here next year. Even the peripheral players are like, I'd rather go to another club. I need a change of scene. We know our big boys are going to be leaving at the end of the year when we go down. So I think a lot of them are thinking, do you know what? I'm not even sure if I want to stay up, because if I do stay up, I'll be stuck here for another year. At least if we go down, I can get a move. That's what it feels like. It feels like they've given up.
Yeah, you might be able to trigger the relegation clause or anything. Well, look, let's look at the lineup that we went for, because I think we've got to talk a lot about Rude. But I mean, He tried one different thing today. He put Buonanotte in, but he went for the same system. He did also, though, return Vestergaard back to the team. Justin came in because it looks like Koulibaly is injured for a bit. Great. Our one signing's out. But, you know, a great comment here, which is true. Will we score a goal for the rest of the season? Because I just don't get what he's trying to do. Everyone just said it's pathetic. What are we doing? West Ham didn't have to play get out of first gear to beat us. Training session for the Hammers. What does he need to? Well, he's not going to change, is he? This is the ridiculous thing. We can speculate all we want, but he's keeping going with this system, and it's just not working. Luke, what are you making of the situation? You must be frustrated.
Yeah, like everyone wants me to rant, kick off. I'm not going to. It's just I'm just drained. I'm tired. I'm sick of saying the same thing. What really is the most horrible thing about this all is we are getting worse every game. It's just completely clueless from Ruud van Nistelrooy. The players have also given up. We've got Ruud coming out making comments saying we're not good enough. It's just all the way around, just absolutely painful. What sucks the most is everyone saying we need to drain the swamp and we need to have a massive clear out. We already did this last season before we were in the championship, and we're lucky to keep half the players we did then. It's going to be even worse next season. Even if you remove all the sanctions and stuff coming away from the EFL, I still think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I will say to this, everyone in chat, let me know. If you think that Ruud van Nistelrooy was our manager last season instead of Enzo, do you think he would have been successful playing this brand of football? I don't think so. I don't think he's the man to go forward. If he can't get anything and he's not even going to play youth that we could potentially be working with next season, why do we have him now? I just think that he needs to go. What's the point? We're going down anyway. That's my opinion.
This. Ruud van Nistelrooy is statistically worse than Peter Taylor. Drink that in, boys. And someone said 3 points out of 36. And I think that's now, 10 losses in 11 games. I mean, we had that awful run and we're still just losing. I'll answer your question, Luke. I think you're right. I think the thing is, even if your team is struggling and you're doing really badly, there's a way that you can do things. There's a way that you can't do things. There's certain things he does which just don't make any sense. Like the lack of substitutes is just appalling, in my opinion. Like, what kind of message does that send? The lack of body language of trying to fire up the team. The way that he's just using the same system week in, week out. Have you not realized after this many losses that it's not working? You got to change something. I hate to say it, but even Steve Cooper did change it around sometimes, right? Like he'd move the 10s or the 6s, or he changed the system. He even went back against Forest. Like, I hate to say it, but he's looking like a tactical genius compared to Ruud. And I don't get why it's been like this, because he started off, and you remember against that the first time we played West Ham, he made changes early. He changed the system. He went for an attacking thing. He saw out the game. Do you think that he just gave up, 5-6 games ago, and that's why he's just dialing in? Because honestly, do you know what it feels like? It feels like when you're working at your job and it's called quiet quitting, where you're like, do you know what? I actually hope that my boss comes in and fires me because I don't give a shit, but I'll just pick up the paycheck. What do you think about that, Manny?
I think as soon as that budget that they supposedly agreed on when they discussed his contract to spend in January ended up being £3 million, he just thought, well, I've had a chat with Enzo. I was a bit warned about this kind of behaviour. And do you know what? Fine. You're going to screw me over like that and not give me any money when you promised me there was. Then I'm going to sit here quietly. I'm going to pick Vestergaard. I'm going to help you. And then I'm just going to wait until you pay me off. And we could see in the summer, if you look at all the noises Ruud is making, it's, I'm going to be here. I signed a 3-year contract. I'm going to be here. I think what he's saying is, I'm not quitting. You're going to have to pay me off. We might be in a situation where the club want to change him, but they can't afford to pay him off. So we might even be stuck with him next year in a weird situation where he doesn't want to be here. We don't want him to be here, but he is here.
Yeah, scary thoughts. Because there's interesting things to hear. Something like, go on, man.
I have a different opinion. I don't think, I think we need to remember humans react differently, right? When they are feeling disappointed. I think I react probably a lot of the same way to Ruud, right? I get a bit quiet. I mean, I'm not as talkative. And that looks at him. When I look at Ruud, I still see someone who wants to be there. He's maybe not the way he's reacting when things go against him is the way some people would react. Some would be outspoken, yelling. And maybe that's what you need in a leader. I think you can make a good argument for that. But his body language to me doesn't scream someone who is not devoted to the job. It screams someone who is so desperate to try and fix things, but doesn't, struggles to know what the solution is anymore. And I mean, I don't know if he's disappointed in the players, disappointed in himself for not being able to figure it out. I don't think he doesn't want to be here anymore. That's not the word I'm getting for him. I just think his body language, his reaction might not be the usual, loud, outspoken manager who yells and gives shit to the team or whatever it is, right? I think he just reacts differently because that's just how I read his body language. He definitely still wants to be here.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, the thing is, there's like a comment, right? Do you think Nigel Pearson would resurrect our season if we could swap him with Ruud? Obviously, that's not going to happen. But why I want to bring this comment up is this is kind of my point, right? During that Great Escape season, I think most fans actually acknowledged that we were relegated because it looked just as bad as it looks now, if not somewhat worse. Because I think we were 7 points clear of safety. But the thing is that, like I say, there's a way, even if you were to go down versus what Ruud van Nistelrooy is doing. Nigel Pearson never gave up. He was still trying things. He changed the system. He tried to bring some players in. He tried shifting things around. He decided to tell the team, you know what, it's not working with this approach. So let's go more direct and physical and try and attack games and try and get something, right? This is what really, I think it's unforgivable from Ruud, to be totally honest with you. I think that's like, well, what do you think, Luke? Because I agree with you that I think the way that he's going, he cannot be passing the test to take the team in the championship. Like I keep saying this as a fan, right? All win, lose or draw, right? You're always going to support the team, but like it's hard to get behind a team when they're just not giving you anything, right? And a manager's not giving you anything. There's a way to go down, and this I think is capitulation. Let's call it out for what it is. It's capitulation. And from him, the manager, like, okay, you're 2-0 down at half time. Fuck it, right? 4-4-2, put both strikers on, try to do something, attack the game, not do exactly the same. No substitutes at half time. I'm sounding like you for once. Yeah. So Luke, you come. All right, go. You go duck, and then I'll come to.
I very much agree with that. I think he could have done so much differently this game. And it's more like if you look at the body language, and the way he expresses himself, I don't think he doesn't want to be here, and he's quite quitting. That's all I'm saying. But I have disagreed a lot with what he's done today in terms of the on the pitch decision and substitution. I wholeheartedly agree he should have changed things at halftime. But I still believe he wants to be here. Go on, Luke.
I think that Ruud van Nistelrooy is a poor man's Brendan Rodgers, plays a high line. Difference is when we got relegated, basically, I'm still going to say it was Rodgers' fault. We were still scoring a lot of goals that season. We were scoring nothing. We're completely barren. I can't even see where the next goal is coming from, let alone another point. But what's even more damning is I would love to be a fly on the wall and see what Ruud drills with this team and how he sets them up and what his philosophy is. You can go and watch all the masterclasses you want, but that's different players and stuff he can't probably do here, obviously. So what is his what is his idea and philosophy of attack with the squad that we have at Leicester? Because it's non-existent right now. Mavididi was the only player that I gave more than a 1 in my score rating. I gave Harry Winks a cheeky 10 just to piss Manny off. But I don't see like why he's not being played. Like Bobby Decova-Reid, why is he, even under Cooper, being the one for set pieces to physically mark the biggest player? And it makes no sense. It looks like he was brought on to not even play just to try and Mac Wan-Bissaka. We know how well that went down. What a great player he is, by the way. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is completely out of his depth. And to be honest with you, I think he would get found out faster than Enzo at a bigger club. I don't think he gets a big club move now after this. In my opinion, maybe Amram probably gets sacked and they maybe come with a tail between their legs at United and ask him to come back and he would just jump ship quicker than Enzo ever did. But for me, mate, I don't want him to take. I don't want him to be in the championship, and I don't want. I like the idea of Dyche and Sandro Mantic and stuff having a firefight. There is no firefight. We're down, and I don't think Dyche is the one that if we were to go down and come back up to carry us forward. I think we just need to start looking at like a 3 to 4 year plan of a manager that's going to have a set style of play that can get a tune out of the squad that we have available.
Yeah, there's an interesting comment, and I'll answer it. It says, Cooper played defensive and his style was not up to fans' liking. Ruud tries to attack more and also gets hammered. Why do fans still complain? What do fans want? Well, I'll answer this before I pass around the panel. I mean, we're not attacking. That's the reality. Did we ever look like scoring today? No, they're literally big chances, 0, right? The only goal we've scored there is Yannick Vestergaard with an OG. So we don't understand what Ruud is trying to do. Yeah, I mean, that someone else has put here, he says, this is an interesting comment. In my opinion, I think the players have an ego, want to play slow, fluid football, but they can't because they're fucking shit because we never play on transition at all. Because, yeah, I kind of agree with this comment. If I had to describe our style of play, what it is try and build out from the back, use Yannick Vestergaard to make a vertical pass along the ground for 10 to 15 yards, then get into the final third, then just pass backwards. There's no attempt for anyone to run into the half spaces like we did under Maresca. There's no attempt to try and isolate a winger one-on-one to try and beat a man, to be offensive. There's no putting 5 people into the box. When we attacked, there was a point where Vardy did get the ball, got to the byline. There's only Bobby Reed, who's a midget, up against 3 physical centre-backs to try and get something. There's just an awful style of play. So you know what? We can accept losing, right, if your team puts in an effort. But when your team clearly isn't making any effort to get anything out from the game, which we didn't, once that was, to be honest with you, that was game over after 1-0. Let's be honest, not even 2-0. Then what can you do? And yeah, Neil here sums it up. There's no identity as a team and no passion. That's what I think. And I don't understand what Rude is, because this is like truly killing him. And like I say, you could try 5 different things and none of those things would work. But at least I'd give you some respect for trying something, right? Sure, you might get some criticism for changing it too much. But like I say, this is just literally... I remember seeing this fight a long time ago. I think it was between David Hay and Audley Harrison. And Audley Harrison just stood there like that for 10 matches, getting beaten and never threw a punch. It was one of the most... It was just like clearly there to get a payday. Manny, I know you got some strong feelings on this. And let's go like to the lineup, because we can talk about some key players, but like some of his decisions as well are baffling. Like you called it out, but Vestergaard, why is he playing him in this team, do you think?
Because he wants the sack and he wants to pay off. That's the only conclusion. You can never make a case that Vestergaard, in his 33 and a half years or however old he is, in the Premier League, on a large pitch like West Ham's, against 2 mobile forwards like Mohamed Kudus and Jared Bowen, how they are not going to run rings around him in any tight space. There's no logic to it. I mean, we said this before the match started, so it wasn't after timing. Deep line, it doesn't matter. They'll still find enough space to get him behind you. Offside problems, he can't keep in line with his back 4, so he's always 1.5 meters off them. So we look at the Everton game, look at this game, just the last 2 games that he's played in. Him and trying to play offside or not being offside has actually cost us 2-3 goals, I think. And I just can't make a case for it. Akoli's, like I said before the start of the game, Akoli's had a bad game against Brentford, like everybody did, but he had 2 decent games before then. Decent game against Arsenal, decent game against Man United, I think it was. So I don't get that. Then finally he takes Chugger off. That's fine. But then Buonanotte is not a winger. He's just left isolated on the right wing. He gets the ball. He tries to beat the first man, which he can sometimes do. He tries to beat the second man, but then there's about 3 more there, and he's all on his own. He's got no one to pass to. He's got no other outlet. He has to turn back, but then he's just going to get tackled. So structurally, when you look at the lineup at the beginning, you think, what is your idea today? Like, what are you trying to do? You could say that you're trying to defend deep. Let's say you're picking Vestergaard and you're going to go deep. Okay, first question is, that's fine. I can understand what you're trying to do in defence, but how are you trying to therefore attack when you do get the ball? How do we get out of this, and how do we get forward into their half? How many times did we just hoof the ball, lose it, turn over possession back to them, invite us back on us? How many times are we actually getting in advanced positions? Nothing. And when we do finally have the ball for 30-35% of what it was, it's just pedestrian pace. If you want to play possession football, it has to be like pinball. When Brendan Rodgers was at his absolute best, it was one touch. It wasn't even one touch. It was first time. Lay it off, pass it off. Don't dawdle on it. Don't take 3 touches and then end up going backwards. It has to be pass. We don't see any of that either. So I don't understand particularly what we're trying to do in defence, because it doesn't work. I don't understand what we're trying to do in attack, because it doesn't work. So entering this game, it's foregone conclusion that we're going to lose. And I'd sit here every week saying predictable. You look at that team. Look at their team. I just don't see how. But you can have a day when somebody has a miracle day, and someone hits one from 25 yards, and we score from a set piece, and we somehow nick it. And let's not make a mistake. We beat West Ham last time, but you remember the game? They battered us. They battered us in the game. Today we had nothing in attack whatsoever. So, maybe you could nick the first goal and then you could try and defend the game. But at no point did we look like scoring. No point at all. So it's just a matter of time.
I think the problem is, we're not scoring any goals. But I could tell you one world in which Vestergaard would have worked in this game. And that if we had the exact same lineup in the exact same form under Enzo Maresca a year ago, he would be pinging beautiful long balls up to a Fatawa Mavididi, raring to take on that man. And he would have been a brilliant piece of that play. But, Ruud had to look into reality. He's not Enzo Maresca. We're not having the same players available, and he should have never started Vestergaard. I wholeheartedly do agree with that decision. I think he was shocking today. I think Deco Reed was shocking today. I think Sumari was shocking today. I mean, if you look at the whole starting 11, the only ones who I would look at and say was not shocking is Christiansen, then Mavididi when he came on.
Sorry, I had to have this one prepared for. I knew there was going to be some Danish glazed donuts
but I'm
coming out
asking-
on the stream
But,
here
but,
today.
but I mean, did I glaze in there? Do you genuinely think I glazed in there? I told you the 1 out in 14 million hundred scenarios where he would have worked this game, and that's not the scenario we're in. And I blame Ruud for him because he. I mean, I mean, if the FA might have had to look into him for match fixing there because it was horrible. Why can't Christensen cross the ball? Because you don't have eyes, mate. He crossed the ball 5-6 times, but not good times. He was bad on the crosses today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was. I think the whole team was shocking except for Hermansen, Christiansen, and I think Mavididi as well. Mavididi.
Who was the worst player on the pitch today, Duck?
Worst player on the pitch?
Samari.
Westergaard easily, man. He's the one who made both goals happen.
I would think Samara, to be honest with you. Can I just pull up a comment here? Where are we? There we go. You've just started a nil. Okay. I understand that Ruud is a terrible appointment after what Cooper's put out, but let me just say this. I don't owe fuck all to that ugly-ass orc. That fucking stupid idiot fucking put Vitawa as a left wing-back and never played Pereira, so that is fucking stupid. I'm not saying his Ruud's better, but I don't owe that fucking idiot an apology at all. He spunked fucking 80 million wages on fucking donuts. So fuck that off. Let me ask you this, though, everybody. This goes to show the shambles of our club. This goes for you and the panel. This goes for the comments as well. Do you think that when we approached Ruud van Nistelrooy to take the job, that we at least said to him, Ruud, what is your philosophy? What do you think you can do with this squad? What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. We'll back you this money. Or do you just think that please just sign here, we'll give you what you want and just not fucking complete disregard for the future? I'll start with you, Anil.
Well, just before I come to that, because I want to say something as well, which is fair enough, because I get a few comments like this, which is fair enough. Like, remember the flags when Cooper was sacked? I think again. Look, I was very happy that Steve Cooper was gone. If you look back at these shows, there were plenty of shows where I gave him credit where it was due. There were some games where he did all right, like against Crystal Palace, where I felt he did make a bad decision to see the game out by going 5 at the back, but basically Connor Cody gave it away. Second half against Spurs in the first game of the season, he showed us some stuff. So there were some things he did well, but I was happy that he went because I felt that it was inevitable we would get relegated with that guy in charge. I think the issue is we brought in Ruud, and again, you can check previous shows. I said when Ruud came in, you just got to remember, guys, it is possible that he could be even worse than Cooper. We don't think that is going to be the case, but it's possible. And unfortunately, it has turned out to be the case, right? But I think I personally will say that I think we do owe him an apology. I do think sometimes Luke's language with Steve Cooper and calling him an orc is uncalled for, but he's still my brother from down under, so I let him get away with it. But I think statistically it is proven that Cooper did better. But I think what the panel will say, and I agree, is that he had a massive impact in building the squad that we have now, and the squad that he's built is pretty garbage. And we keep saying that, like, we had to get like a couple of signings right, and very few of them have come off, and that's cost us. Didn't really fix and there's like another good comment that I want to bring up here from Daniel, who's actually there's Daniel, the Everton fan. He goes, why is it that when you defend deep, you're so bad at it? And I think that is the problem, right? Ruud has tried to fix the defense, but you can't, because we literally have the two worst centre backs in the league, which is Yannick Vestergaard and Wout Faes. I think the problem is that with Ruud, he's a manager. He doesn't have to play those two. Okoli did have a bad game last time round, but he is still better than these two. But look, we can agree to disagree. So, never hire a bozo to do a job. Look, I do think that the DOF didn't have a good summer in terms of once we lost Maresca, we panicked. And obviously we did try to go for Potter. And look, Potter's absolutely schooled us today with this West Ham team, even though they weren't particularly that good. So there you go. Anyone want to respond to any of that? Manny or Duck?
The only thing I'd say about the Ruud versus Cooper, which is getting a bit irritating now because, we're rewriting history. Cooper was terrible. Cooper was absolutely terrible. Let's forget about what Ruud's done since. Individually, he had his chance and he was awful. Who signed Edouard? Who signed Skip? Who signed Ayew? Who signed Reed? Are any of those players of any of use to us at the moment? No. Are any of they've been taking minutes off other players potentially, and they've managed to blind Ruud too in some occasions, because Ruud kept picking Ayew and Cordova Reed every week, and now he's back to picking Vestergaard again. I mean, Steve Cooper had a huge say in the summer about allowing these players to come to the club. He actually asked for them, from what we're led to believe. So, I blame him massively. Now, Ruud has not made it one iota better at all, totally. But at least I'll give Ruud if this is Cooper's team he's working with, and the team is a bottom 3 team of this campaign. The one thing Cooper also had is we said it, didn't we, during the game? Like, how badly do we miss Fatawu? I mean, we miss him so much. Like, you know, Fatawu's on the pitch. Like, even if it's just on its own, you've got one guy that's a bit of an outlet. Get the ball to Fatawu, and he can try and take his man on himself. And then your job is to try and keep up with Fatawu. Maybe Wilf will have some of that muscle memory, and he'll try and making those underlapping runs to Fatawu as well. At least that's one way you can get out of a deep block. But Fatawu got injured, so that's tough on Ruud. He had no money to spend, so I'm always trying to be balanced. And whilst I think that Ruud has, you know, had some bad fortune with injuries, bad fortune with not being able to spend money, he has individually made some stinking decisions himself. You know, I'll happily give a manager a bit of time. And initially, I was like, yeah, Ruud, you know, no problem. It's not Cooper. We'll give it a go. But how you can pick Vestergaard over a Coley? Sorry, sackable offence. I have to question mark what you're seeing, what you're doing. And I don't know what you're seeing because Vestergaard's played 80-90% of the games under Ruud and we just concede goals for fun. How do we not score at all? Because we've got an attack of 102 every single game. It doesn't work. Mavididi finally comes on for half an hour. I know the game's a little bit dead, but at least Mavididi can potentially do something, get a cross in, get a step over, an attempted shot. Cordova-Reid, literally nothing at all. RU, nothing in attack, nothing at all whatsoever. So, yeah, I mean, I think the guy just wants out. He probably thinks, you've sullied my reputation, pay me off and let me go. And that's fine by me. Pay him off, let him go. I'm happy for anyone to take over for 10 games because as mad as it sounds, you know, Wolves are still pretty bad themselves. And the 2 wins, we're actually out of the bottom 3. And I know 2 wins looks like, you know, of course, we're not going to look like we've got no... Let's try 5 new managers and go out for a manager bounce after every 2 games. Can we give a series of tactic? Can we give a series of a series of 2-game contracts to people, please? And let's see if it works. I mean, we're that desperate. Just staying the same thing. Like 2 games ago, I said, you know, look, Ruud will figure it out, you know, in terms of team selection. And when Coley came back into the team, I was like, well, finally, no more Vestergaard. Thank God for that. After the Everton game, we're finally improving somewhere. We're getting closer to our best 11. But then you just see RU and Cordova-Reid week after week. This week, you're seeing Mavididi on the bench on a big open pitch. And what? Cordova-Reid comes on. Did Cordova-Reid do anything today? Did anyone see a single thing at all? Did anyone expect him to do anything today against Wan-Bissaka? Of course not. So why'd you pick the guy? I mean, it's you predict something before the game, you can see how it's going to work out. It works out, and then you're scratching your ass thinking, well, you know, this is a course of how it's logically going to go. Yeah, pointless. Ruud can go. A lot of the players could go, but won't find anyone who's muggy enough to take them. The handful of good players that we do have, they'll all go in the summer, and half of them already look like, I don't think I fancy this next year. If we do stay up, we may as well just get a move, go maybe somewhere with sunnier climates, get a different contract, because this place is getting ugly quickly.
I think that regarding the thing with Reid and Mavididi, I think Manny said this on Good Morning Foxes, and I've always agreed with him, which is that people like Mavididi, Okoli's another one, they can be inconsistent. They do often have stinkers, but at least they have the capability to do something good. And I think that's the problem with players like Bobby Reid and Jordan Ayew as well, who at least didn't play today, which is that they're never going to give you anything, right? That's the problem, right? Okay, he got a few goals at the end of the games, Ayew, but that was a sort of different case. So I just got some interesting comments that I do want to bring up, I think are interesting. So this, I think, is a good one for the panel. Serious question. Do you think there is any manager out there that would have come in and done a better job, I think, than Ruud van Nistelrooy he meets? Or do we admit that the squad just isn't good enough for the Prem? Because I know what I think here. So I'll start with Doc. I'll go to you.
I really wanted to touch on the last point as well about Cooper. So I'll just very quickly address that. Anyone saying we owe him an apology, go back and watch the first 45 minutes against Southampton. We were played off the park against the worst team in the Premier League, who, you know, so far, 25 games in, hasn't come haven't even beaten the Derby points record yet. Please, for the love of God, you're a clown if you say Cooper deserves an apology. It was the right thing to sack him. But that's a good comment because the squad simply isn't good enough. I don't think any manager, unless you got Enzo Maresca back, who all these players adore and would have fit perfectly in his system, would have been able to save this. Because it is shit. It is just garbage and garbage with a few good gems in there. I mean, just imagine how the first half of the season would have gone if Hermansen wasn't the best keeper in the league for those 5 months. Like we would have had 0 points. Or if we didn't get a 97th minute winner or a 94th minute equalizer and red cards against the other relegated teams beside us. I mean, yeah, I think anyone saying Cooper deserves an apology should just look. I mean, I realized how bad squad is just horrible. It took myself some time to realize it. I thought the manager would be able to get the most out of them, and I think Ruud has gotten the most out of them. But what I've realized is the most out of them is just shit. It's just nothing. It's horrible. There is nothing in this lot because we've only conceded 8 shots this game. What were the goals coming from? Donkey moments. This time around today, the guilty one was Yannick Vestergaard being the biggest donkey of them all, but Anatze with a horrible clearance as well. It's done. They're just not good enough, and that's the fact.
This is funny from Imran. It's a good point. He goes, I know why Vestergaard gets picked, because in training, nobody runs or attacks. So he looks good in training. That would actually make a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I can actually agree with that. But yeah, let me come to the rest of you. I mean, what do you think, Luke? Do you think if we'd have got another manager, could we have stayed up? Or was it, I mean, because Matty B just put it there earlier, which is saying everyone in this chat basically goes, by the way, guys, the guys on the panel, most of us in chat conceded relegation around Christmas. This group of fans isn't deluded. So do you think there was ever anyone that could get us out? I mean, maybe David Moyes if he came here, but he was never coming here with that Everton contract on the line.
No, and I hate to admit this, when Moyes was tossed about and mentioned, I was strongly against it just because I don't like the brand of football. But to be honest with what you've seen at Everton, yes, I do think that Moyes is the only one that would have kept us up by the skin of our teeth. But what he would have done the following season leaves a lot to be desired. I thought we're relegated after that last preseason game. I really do. I genuinely think that how much we went backwards and ripped all the trees and plants and stuff up that Enzo planted, it was just really, really shocking to see. And I think that we've never recovered from that, to be honest with you. The players didn't like the football. Then Cooper lost the dressing room, and then Ruud's come in, and the morale was already low. I don't think there's anyone that can keep us up now or could have then. Guys, I've got to shoot. I got to go to work now. I appreciate having your company. It's a shame that we're getting brutally beaten like this, but at least I can have some therapeutic moments of you guys and everyone in the comments. So take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, Luke. Manny, over to you. What do you think? Do you think there was any way that we could have stayed up? I mean, you have to remember as well that a lot of us thought with the transfer window that we all thought that's what was going to happen, right? We'd sacked Cooper, brought in Ruud, and we were going to back this new manager in the window. He wasn't backed either. But let's assume the window stays the same. We only make one cheap signing, but we had a different manager. Do you think we could have still stayed in the league? Or is this just the inevitability of what we're seeing now?
Maybe Moyes could have worked a bit of magic if he was still available and turned it around, but January was crucial. We put a lot of emphasis on this channel in January, and when we were looking up towards it in December during the month, we needed 4 or 5 players. We didn't even need 1 or 2. We needed 4 or 5. You know, we desperately needed 2 wingers. We needed a centre back. We needed a right back. Arguably, we needed a left side central midfielder too. So that's even up to 5 or 6. That's what we need to stay up. If we were going to be ultra brutal, probably a bit more help at left back as well. Entire new front 3 striker. We need 7. I think we've only got 4 first teamers who are good enough, and so we need 7 players by hook or by crook eventually to get to somewhere to being a competent Premier League team. So in terms of a survival team, 2 or 3 players might have given you a chance. And as mad as it sounds, as bad as we are, remember Wolves aren't that much better. They're only 5 points ahead of us, which is pretty embarrassing considering how bad we've been, by the way. All it takes is one injury to Cunha, and if you can somehow scrape a win by hook or by crook somewhere, even if it's Southampton or Ipswich, you still got a sniff. But the players are just too old, too slow. Been saying it for months. Every single game, no attacking threat, can't defend properly. But the one thing that annoys me about the situation at the moment most of all is, look, you've got what you've got. Okay, we could cry over January and say we should have done this, we should have done that. As soon as January window closes, that is all you've got. You're not going to get any more players realistically. Maybe some mad free transfer or whatever, but you're not going to get anyone. So what you can do is give yourself the best chance of success by picking your very best 11. Now, I don't think Ruud knows what his best 11 is.
He never has done, has he?
I think
changing it.
Consistent errors in selection. At one point, he thought Danny Ward was a better keeper than Jakob. That's a joke. For a long time in his Leicester City career, the vast majority of it, he's picked Vestergaard above Akoli. I think that is a giant mistake. He's picked the 2 wingers that we've mentioned 50,000 times. 2 more mistakes. And he's just playing around. Buonanotte, we like Buonanotte, yeah? We like him. We want him on the pitch because we don't have much else. But not on the right wing. He's not a right winger. He doesn't play shape. He's too individual. He gets too isolated. He has to play central if you want to play him. So, this is not about signings or other players. I just don't think he if I'm brutal, I just don't think he can tell the difference between, a good player and a bad player. And if you think that Vestergaard is worthy of a start over Okoli, then I have to question how you interpret what you're seeing. Is that the same interpretation that told you that Danny Ward was better than Jakob? I don't think I've lost faith in you. I'd love to have a chat with you about all this stuff, but I just don't have faith that you can see the best team in front of you. Now, don't take it personally. I have that feeling often, and it can get worse. Gareth Southgate could come in, and it could make it even worse. That would make it even more horrendous, and we'll end up with 3 centre-backs, 3 DMs, or God knows what else.
How has the ref been given a 5 when the corner they got in the second goal wasn't even a corner? That's illegal, man. Sorry, man, to continue.
Well, on average, he didn't really do anything good or bad. He had an average game. Refs do normally make. I don't know. You can't blame the ref for. I think ref was neutral. That's not the cause, is it? Anyway, coming back to some of Manny's points, fair enough. Look, I think there's some interesting comments I'll just bring up quickly. So here's a good comment. So Conscious has said Anil May showed a graph in the last match analysis of all the teams overperforming or playing fast transition football, the complete opposite of Enzo last season. And Imran's also saying Enzo ball would not have worked in the Premier League. No chance. Slow football does not work anymore. But the one thing I think you guys are both kind of doing him a bit of a disservice is that the way that Enzo ball worked is that it was slow at one point, but the idea was to make the one player advantage, and as soon as that one player advantage appeared, then he did actually attack quickly, right? And so I think that's literally what his system's about, is he did attack quickly, and he actually attacked with 5 men, so it was quite aggressive. In the Championship, of course, it looked slow. It looked slow because we were playing teams that would put 10 men behind the ball, and they were playing a deep block. But for example, against Southampton, one of the reasons why we looked so good is because they tried to play us and then we could pop it around them. And when we attacked, we looked fluid against them. So I don't know if his style would or wouldn't have worked. I do agree. I think what Rude's doing, unfortunately, is he's taken the worst elements of Enzo ball, which is that, turgid, lackluster possession where you're just popping it around in the middle doing nothing, right? Which I will admit, we had that a lot of times under Enzo. But what he's not done, although I feel the squad isn't set up for it, is he's not doing the thing where when you make that advantage, you attack fluidly, you attack with intent, you attack with 5 people in the box, and you try and really score a goal. So that's really what so look, we will never know at the end of the day, but I feel that the big thing we're saying, Manny says it all the time, is fast twitch muscle fibers, it's pace, it's attacking with intent. We don't do that, but we definitely don't do it with Rude. And at least there were some times, I would dare say, under Cooper, we did not attack often, but when we did attack, we did at least sometimes try and make chances. So what do you guys think to that? And
if you're going to be a slow team, you're going to be a slow team, slow in person, so you don't have athletes, you don't have athletic, quick players that we've described over and over again, then the only way to do it is the old school way of let the ball do the work. The ball moves faster than the people, so you have to move the ball quickly. But we pass too slowly. You can't take 2 touches on the ball. You can eliminate 2-touch football. It has to be, most you can have is 1 touch and you've got to pass it. And ideally, you want to be passing it first time, 1 touch, first time, maximum 1 touch. Then you can move the ball quickly. But in order to do that, you need the extra numbers that Enzo would have, and you need them ideally in an advanced disposition. You can't be trying to play clever, cute, tricky pinball whilst you're defending deep in your own half. So you have to have the intent and then the ability to execute at a high speed. You wouldn't say Man City. Man City are also on the quickest team on earth. Haven't been over the last 3-4 years. Liverpool, a much faster team, particularly on transition. But Man City can move the ball bloody quickly. So that is effective. But when we do it, it's just a slow version of the way that they try and play. It's not fast enough. That's
exactly my point. Like I say, he's taken the worst elements of Enzo ball, but he's not doing the thing that he's trying to do, which is that you have to attack with speed. And the thing is, even if you don't have fast players, you can still attack with speed. Everyone's saying it in the comments. They're right. Our first thought is backwards. I can't tell what type of telling the Rude what type of team he wants to be, yet alone where we are. There are no attacking patterns, and the first thought of all the players is to make the safe pass. Exactly. We don't go for the aggressive pass. So look, I think I'll end with this one, right? Which is a good one. I'll ask the panel for this. So he asked me, I'll ask everyone, would you still have Rude next year in the Championship? I will start with you, Duck.
I said yes, and I did that on the basis that I thought, that if he get the right players for what his ideas were, I think it would be a different picture, and I still stand by that. I mean, he's definitely not doing himself any favors these past few game weeks, right? It's not looking any brighter by any sense of the word. But yeah, I would actually. I would still give him the chance. I mean, he could definitely fuck it up within the next 11 games. But I mean, I see some of his ideas. I think defensively speaking, we are more solid at not giving away these big chances that we did on the Cooper, where they just split us apart. Now we're just giving goals away because our team, like individuals, are just not good enough. They're just not, being able to hold the defensive line, not able to not make sure that the players get on their weaker foot. I'm not convinced by his style. I'm not blown away, but I think if we go down, I think he could definitely be one of the better managers who wants to take the job, because I don't think we will be a lucrative job to come to the championship next season. And I don't currently know anyone who I think would do a better job.
I'm literally going to start a poll as we do this. So, Manny, how about you? Would you keep Ruud next season in the championship?
Nope, definitely not. What we need to do is actually not rocket science at all. There's no point in going down. There'd probably be quite a few managers who'd be okay enough with our reasonable squad, assuming that there was no embargo and we could sign 1 or 2 players, that we'd be competitive enough for playoffs, maybe even going straight back up. But then when we go back up, we'll be in the same position. We'll just come straight back down. We have to build a unit that will be sustainable in the Premier League. So we've spoken about identity and all these other things, and it should come. We've had many discussions about King Power and the owners and the rest of it. We firstly need to identify what kind of Premier League unit we want to be, and then build towards that ultimate aim, even if we're in the Championship. So when we come to the Premier League, we're not already at the stage where at Brighton, for example. I know Man City's unrealistic. Let's take Brighton, mid-table, possession-based team, which is kind of where Ruud ball at his best would maybe try and push towards. In order to do that, you'd need years of being in the Premier League. You'd have to be adding decent quality players year after year. You just can't turn up day one and play like that. So we have to face facts that if we are in the Premier League, let's say in 2 years' time, season after next, how do we stay up? It's a counter-attacking unit. So I want to find a manager that will build me that counter-attacking fast unit. Front fast 3, mobility in all areas of the pitch.
Give us a name, Manny. Which manager?
Will Still.
Do you think you'd come to us in the Championship?
Nah, no way.
Yeah, you gave me a name. You gave me 3 seconds.
We don't know the situation. I think that's a key thing, because if we have a transfer embargo, we can't buy players. We're put under this business plan where we have to sell, 5, 6, 7 players. I don't see us being a good proposal, and I don't know which manager would come and take it and take us up, unless it's a huge game. But that's why I'd rather stick with Ruud. I know it's maybe playing it too safe, because I think Will Still, Manny, would be incredible. I'd love to have with Will Still. It's more, would he come?
We can discuss that. Let's say on
Tyler. Tyler's come in with the big $4.99.
Yeah. So.
I'm
going to end on Tyler. Firstly, thank you so much for your generosity, Tyler. OG, been with the channel, I think, since day one. It says, Ruud is only a good manager in theory. His tactics are half-baked and incomplete. Clubs needs to be rid of the rot at all levels. And I'll answer it as well for myself. So would I go with Ruud next season? No, I've changed my mind. And the reason I've changed my mind is, as I say, it's not actually the losses that is the reason why I think he needs to go. It's the lack of fight. It's the lack of making change. It's the awful attitude. That's not good enough. If you have someone like that, I can't have any confidence that someone like that is going to turn you around. When you deal with adversity in life, there's ways of dealing with it, right? And the way that Ruud is dealing with it is not the way to go, in my opinion. I think it stinks, to be honest with you. And I'd actually go as far as saying I think Steve Cooper dealt with the adversity that he was getting better than Ruud is. He's given up, and it's not good. Who could the new manager be? Look, let's discuss that maybe on another show. I'm not even sure if it's going to be something that's relevant, because I'm not sure King Power will get rid of him. I think they made a big commitment to him. So look, let's leave it there.
Claudio, come back next season after your Roma gig. Come home.
Maybe Enzo will be free in the summer. Just going to throw that out there. But let's leave it there. Thank you so much to my panel, Duck and Manny, for keeping me entertained in what was an awful game. But most of all, thank you to everyone in chat. Over 500 people here. You guys are amazing. Would love it if you could leave a like, put some comments on the stream, even if it's all just to say, haha, flag waving idiot, you got what you come for. Don't mind it. It's all good. Thank you for your channel. And just before we go, it looks like the Mr. Danish Glazing Donuts does want to finish us off, so I'll pass it over to you.
It was actually like a goodbye wave, but you dragged it.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. and hopefully we get a point soon. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Foxes fans, and we'll see you next time round on Blue Tinted Glasses. See you later. Bye bye.